Well, this is bound to be another nail in the EV coffin. Let's begin. Well, it looks like we're about to explore the latest chapter in Charge Rage, because apparently they're now using the security guards doing patrols around charging stations to prevent electric car drivers from, shall we say, getting a little bit angry at each other with the waiting times. But let's just address the huge elephant in the room, the lack of connections to the national power grid. Apparently we don't have enough juice flowing through the wires to keep up with the demand for charging points. It's like they're trying to run a water park with a garden hose. You're going to have a lot of frustrated swimmers. And before anyone says, "Oh really, well actually the power grid is perfectly fine, oh I hate the Smug one," calm down, I was only talking about in those areas because presumably if the power grid could cope with more chargers, then they'd put quite a lot more chargers in there. But Ken McMiken, the CEO of Moto, the company that operates 59 service stations across the UK, has coined the term Charge Rage, which apparently is a condition that affects EV drivers when they have to wait for charging points to free up. I mean, picture this. Stressed out drivers pacing back and forth, giving each other looks, like they're about to enter a gun battle at dawn. Which, to be honest, is kind of like road rage, but with a zap of electricity. But here's the thing. Public charging points can recharge your typical electric vehicle in about 4 hours. But service stations, they have those fancy pants chargers that get the job done in just half an hour or so. So, you'd think that would solve everything, right? Well, I'm guessing it won't. Because during busy times like Christmas, for example, people will probably still be lining up for God knows how long. It's like waiting for the latest iPhone release, except you're not getting a phone, you're just hoping your car will probably charge before the next millennium. And guess what? Moto has deployed marshals in places like Exeter, Rugby and Wetherby. These brave souls are tasked with keeping the peace among the charged raged masses. It's like a new career path, because let's face it, who knew this would be a job of the future, especially around chargers. But here's the thing, Mr. McKeon, who drives an EV himself, has been telling us that the grid can't handle the power demand. So we're facing the equivalent of a petrol and diesel fuel crisis every time there's some sort of holiday season. I mean, what are we going to see next? Some sort of daring EV drivers try to siphon electricity from one of the other cars in desperation. And if he did, no doubt we'd probably see him glow for a mile, wouldn't we? Let's hope that charge rage won't be as common as traffic jams. But anyway, the article says that a spokesman for the Department for Transport, the DFT, said around 96% of motorway service areas already have charging available, and we know the industry has plans to install hundreds more charge points in the coming months. The government has put more than £2 billion into the transition to electric vehicles, with the number of public charge points across the country increasing by 43% since last year, putting us well on track to apparently have 300,000 charge points by 2030. I'm guessing though probably they don't think so, because why else would they put the date back to 2035? Well, our Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has taken the stage apparently at the Conservative Party conference to unveil his grand plan. Tougher rules on benefit and a boost to the national living wage. It's like the opening act at a political circus, complete with acrobatics and a few clowns for good measure. But in a moment of dazzling suspense, Hunt announced that the national living wage will rise to a whopping, wait for it, £11 an hour from April. Cue the applause or groans, because let's face it, we could all do with a bit more than that during the current cost of living crisis. But of course there's bound to be some extra confetti and extravagant process of a brighter future. It's as if he's handing out the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, except the factory is the job market and the golden ticket is the extra pound in your hourly wage. But also alongside the wage increase, Hunt is eyeing a revamp of the benefit sanctions regime. He wants to make it harder for people to claim welfare if they're not actively looking for work. Because let's face it, everyone who is able to work should be trying to find a job. But moments before Hunt's speech, news broke out that the northern arm of the HS2 was getting the axe. It's like a subplot, isn't it, in this whole political drama? A reminder that while the government might give with one hand, higher wages, they're also going to take away with the other, scrapping major infrastructure products. Although personally I think that's quite a good idea, because I can't see how billions of pounds being wasted on a train line just to make people get into Manchester 10 minutes quicker or whatever it is really a good use of government money. Also, Hunt proudly declared that we promise in our manifesto to raise the national living wage to 2/3 of median income earning low pay in this country. Well, personally, first up, I think that it's a good thing that he actually remembers what a manifesto is. And also, while it is a noble promise, it's also a bit like saying, we promise to make everyone a millionaire, but for now, here's an extra pound. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not quite the yellow brick road of financial prosperity, is it? And of course, we can't forget the classic political move of blaming inflation for not delivering more tax cuts. It's like saying, we love to give you a tax break, but inflation is a grumpy dragon and we don't want to wake it up now, do we? It's the age-old excuse, isn't it, that politicians use to avoid parting with their treasure trove of tax revenue. But don't worry about that, because there is apparently hope on the horizon. Education Secretary Gillian Keegan wants to ban mobile phones from classrooms because, solving the education system problems is as simple as confiscating everyone's smartphones, isn't it? It's like saying, to fix the economy, let's ban online shopping. A brilliant move, surely, eh? But former Prime Minister Liz Truss, not one to be left out of the action, is calling for tax cuts, fracking and measures to boost house building. It's like she's throwing everything but the kitchen sink into the mix, hoping something will stick. But anyway, the article says Catherine Chapman, the director of Living Wage Foundation, says there should be a third option, one based on the real cost of living. She says a rise in the statutory national living wage from next April is welcome news for low-paid workers, but may fall short of the real living wage next year, the only rate that is independently calculated based on the real cost of living. And Chapman says that the group's living wage, currently set at £10.90, is expected to see a significant increase when announced later this month. And also, our research out last week showed that 60% of people earning below the real living wage had used a food bank in the past year, and nearly 40% were regularly skipping meals, she added. But for Helen Barnard, the Director of Policy Research and Impact at the Trussell Trust, which operates food banks, she says that how the national living wage increase is coming alongside a benefits crackdown cannot be ignored. Well, to be honest, this whole Russell Brand saga is turning into some sort of fully fledged epic, isn't it? Because now it's Thames Valley Police stepping onto the stage and bringing with them intrigue and new information, apparently. And that is, another woman has contacted the police to tell them about an alleged harassment and stalking incidents all the way back in 2018, which, to be honest, makes me wonder why she waited about 5 or so years. I'm guessing she probably thought that no one would believe her, but the thing is, if someone done something to you that you didn't want them to do, you go report it, don't you? Because at the end of the day, they need some sort of punishment for that. And to be honest, it does make me wonder how many more people will suddenly decide, oh, I remember that, and then come forward with any crimes they say may or may not have happened. But as the authorities diligently review this new information, Thames Valley Police decides to keep us all guessing, don't they, as usual. They have, of course, declared it inappropriate to comment on an ongoing investigation, and sort of teasing us as if we were watching a gripping crime series and just drop some sort of clue. But the Metropolitan Police, always one of course to stay in the spotlight, announced that they've reached a number of allegations of sexual offences against Brand. And mind you, these allegations are also non-recent, taking us on a whirlwind tour of London and other areas across the country, like some sort of bad road trip. But of course, for anyone who's been living in a cave and doesn't know what the bloody hell I'm going on about, this all stems from an investigative collaboration between the Sunday Times, the Times and Channel 4's dispatchers, because Brand, at the ripe old age of 48, suddenly found himself accused of rape, sexual assault, abuse and sexual misconduct by several women. But of course, naturally, he's sticking to the classic script of denying everything. And then lo and behold, the BBC makes its entrance with its own dramatic twist as usual. They're digging into claims that Brand exposed himself to a woman and then had a hearty laugh about it on his Radio 2 show. We move over late night talk shows, we've got a comedian who's, possibly taken the term needle dick to a whole new level. But at the end of the day, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, aren't they? And if these cases do end up going to court, then he'll certainly have a chance to defend himself. But if he is guilty, then in my opinion, he certainly should be given a sentence to reflect that, and not some sort of light sentence that celebrities tend to get nowadays. However, if he is found to be completely innocent, then of course he deserves a lot of compensation, because let's face it, this hasn't exactly painted him in a good light, has it? But anyway, the article says that Brand denies claims against him, saying his relationships were consensual. He has not been charged with anything, and the fallout from the allegations has caused Brand to suspend his tour and led YouTube to demonetise his content. It has also reignited a debate about how the stars are managed and monitored by an entertainment industry. And Sky News has approached Brand for comment. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens next, won't we? But if this video is anything to go by, it looks like Sadiq Khan might be covering something up.